Chaim, l'chaim. Chaim, everyone, l'chaim. So it's a little difficult to comment at the end. I wasn't listening the whole 23 hours. So if there's anything that I say that's already been said, if there's any achbalas, I'm sorry. And especially after the video clip that they just showed, which sets a tremendous tone. And it's the first few words that always catch my attention. Achi einu movin. The Rebbe says it's, and I don't want to be cynical, but it's achi einu movin. The Rebbe, it's totally baffling, and we're trying to figure out what the solution is, other than what the Rebbe said. Okay, but whatever it is, achi bilti movin, the Rebbe says. Now there's a lot of explanations given. And we'll just start with the official stuff in case it wasn't said yet. That Purim Mem Zayin, the Rebbe already said on Nasi HaKoil. Obviously, the idea of Mashiach is not just that the Rebbe does it; it has to affect the world, and that's why we need to do it. And Bemis, if you go back to the first Yud Shvat, I think Rabbi Ketlarsky, someone just mentioned it, where the Rebbe said right away he's not going to do it. Like that's a Shankei Fegelchum Bosom. It's going to have to come through us. But I have a klutz kasha that for many years bothered me, and I've asked many people. I'm not using the exact words, but the teichen. Okay, let's step back and take those 2 minutes. The Rebbe saying whatever he did, words, shocking words we don't even want to quote, and they were never printed, they're only on the original. Whatever reason, we tamimim wollten gemeint mit den emes, it would have happened. Okay. Okay, so they were saying that, look, I did everything, I can't do anymore. You guys didn't do it either. So therefore, I'm giving it to you to do. The hemshech, the flow doesn't work. You call in someone, a counselor, someone that's working for you, and he's saying, here, listen here, Yankel, the last 6 months, you haven't been doing a good job. So you know what? I want to give you more work to do. It's not masim. It doesn't fit. Someone who's not doing the job, you don't give him more. You don't give him more work to do. He hasn't even been able to do the job. And I've asked this many people, and there's a lot of explanations. I just want to base on this simple klutz kasha. I mean, but pashtus is an idea that the Rebbe gives. I think I heard this from Manis Friedman, Rabbi Friedman. So if maybe Gula Leilam, he said what the Rebbe in a sense did was, we couldn't do it, and the Rebbe gave us over his Yechida. The bren and the living with Mashiach that the Rebbe did, that was the transfer that happened on Chof Nisan. In other words, we didn't do it till then, but the Rebbe was saying, you know what? Now I'm giving it to you. You guys can accomplish it. Good. I have a different thing that always troubled me. It's a very famous letter. We all know it. It's a Chelik Yud Beis of the Igris. It's a Chelik Yud Beis of Igris. It's a Yud Aleph Nisan letter, grade. And B'chlal Derech Agav, parentheses, Chelik Yud Beis, if you look in the front at the end of the Agdam of Chelik Yud Beis, there's a very nice ket over there where they write that just like the Alter Rebbe Tanya writes that the reason why he's printing the Tanya is because Yechidison were getting out of hand and he could no longer meet with everyone. So therefore, he's taking all the Yechidison and he's putting it in a book. So on the front of Chelik Yud Beis, they write that used to be Yechidus got to whatever, so now you have Igris. The Rebbe's Igris are being published, and there you'll find almost every topic, we could say every topic, almost every topic you're looking for can be found in Igris. This is printed stuff, this is not Hegeshim, I'm talking to you a fact. You read it, there's a Klav Hegeshim. So in that volume, in Chelik Yud Beis, there's a very famous letter from Yud Aleph Nisan, Tafshin Tazayin, I think it is that year. The letter, by the way, is printed in one of Kutisichis without that keta. I looked up also, it's in Yagel Teda from Yerushalayim, so I don't know if it's there, but I think that keta only came out in the Igris. Okay, very famous letter we all know. The Rebbe is writing to Yitzchak ben Tzvi, who's the second president of Israel. Seems like, I don't know the history behind it, but it seems like it was a yid of shaykhs to learning. The letter itself, the Rebbe is talking about that the Chedushim of the Tzemach Tzedek on Bab Metzia, that he learned it, and he's starting shurim, and the Rebbe is being aided him to learn more and more. Then the Rebbe goes on to a whole topic of Rebbe Mechabed Ashirim, was the Pshat Rebbe Mechabed Ashirim, and obviously one explanation is that if the Eibush to give someone money, obviously has the influence, and so therefore, like the Rebbe Kedai Kevakedesh puts Yitzchak ben Tzvi's feet to the fire and says, you're a president of Israel, use your influence, do something positive. Beautiful letter, Ad Kan, right? Then at the end, and Rebbe writes himself that Yechida, this should have been the Akdama, that when he's writing to him, we don't have the keppel, we don't have the cassette, the opening, that how come he's not using the word Nasi? How come he's not addressing Yitzchak ben Tzvi with the term Nasi? What's the answer to that question? Everyone says Miyay Malachti. That's not the answer. The answer is a ma'aseh with the Gemara in Hadius. Gemara in Hadius talks about Nasi. Asher Nasi Yechida. What's the definition of Nasi? So what's the lashon of the letter over there? That a Nasi is only Melech loin Nasi shevet ela ein al gabav ela shem lekav. So therefore, Rebbe is saying, "B'mechilas kveitcha." Rebbe is very sensitive. I don't want to put you down in any way, but I can't use the term Nasi. That's a beautiful piece of lumdus. What does it have to do? Miyayim halachti l'cheda. Take out those 2-3 lines. The letter flows. Use your influence. And by the way, I didn't use the new term Nasi because the Rebbe is a Torah, and I'll be Torah. I have a little issue with it. Without those 3 lines, the letter reads just as well. It's not, we write Hegeshim. The Rebbe is not telling you Rebbe's things that he had, that he was thinking about. The Rebbe is not it. And forget, go through 40-something years of the Rebbe Sichos. How often does the Rebbe talk about himself? How often does the Rebbe talk personal? In the Yom Yom, there's 5 words until in Tav Shemay Beis they added it, which is on that video. Moshiach, you go back. Thank you for the plug. What do we know? Upon Maisis from the Yechida, right? What do we know? A few Maisis Yechida that Tisha B'Av as Malamed used to learn, right? I was just thinking before, what are some stories that we know? And in Megara B'Chas Adayv. I remember one year, the few years that I was staying by Fabrengen, and he began to B'Chas Adayv. Adayv is a beer. The Rebbe said he never saw a beer, but he understood that Adayv is Mesubel Babasa. The Gemara says that a beer has Latin. A story. Why the Rebbe said that he once that the Rebbe also once mentioned that I was never taught the Klali Alimud. Haint is a Chalot Smith, a full style. The Rebbe says he never truly came to Shas and he realized the Klali Alimud is over there. Also, the story of Rabbi Yisrael ben Azil, that when he learned the birds flew overhead, they were burned. So the Rebbe said, it was a few things. You could probably count on one hand or 2 hands how many times the Rebbe spoke. Very often, the Rebbe speak when the Rebbe came to words. What's Ate Gefer Pimsenholz? The Rebbe also said, what's Pimsenholz? Puz is gingold. I don't remember the Shmiyat says. That always says essence. Shmiyat says is essence. What says, you don't have to know it's Elteven, but other than that, what do we know? You know anything about the Rebbe and his Yechida? You know anything about the Rebbe and his private life? And it's not like it was a boring life. A lot now we know so much more. And suddenly here the Rebbe takes 3 lines in a letter to give you a whole story. And even before that, his chilis rakim. It began to form, image, whatever the word is. B'dimyeni, tzir, gulas, yidut. Gulas is a whole story which is beautiful, but has nothing to do with the letter. It has nothing to do with this letter. So again, the Rebbe was taking this opportunity and saying, again, not his negation, but for us, you need to start thinking about Mashiach. You need to start making Mashiach real. Mashiach has to become a reality, not just when the Rebbe was a kid. For us, the Rebbe is telling us we need to. So the other day we were sitting with a few people who were saying, they can take achlata to think every day, what's the world going to look like when Mashiach is going to come? So this guy said he's picturing the heaven. This guy said he's picturing Madana Mitzvim Kafa, ice cream growing on trees, whatever. I'm a simple person. To quote Rabbi Amashpia, kum doesn't practice, okay? For me, it was a very simple thing. Let's take something we could all agree on. When Mashiach comes, there'll be a Farbrengen again. We could all agree on that. Good. The Rebbe comes into the Farbrengen. So I always thought to myself, where are the Rebbeim going to sit? So between Chadakov and the Rebbe and Ashag, there's a few spaces that the Rebbe could sit. We could probably even fit the Arizal in and the Maral of Prague. That's our box that we live in. Beyond that, the Tanoim and the Aroim, the Avos Nevim, I don't know. That's not my problem. So I was talking to a few Bachim the other day. Said, what do you mean Gan Eden? And Gan Eden all in that. But that's the problem. Gan Eden is a Makom Luchni. We're talking about Lahamchish. Lahamchish, you got to go back to 770. Gan Eden is Makom Aramein Memida. It's expansive. Lahamchish means how's it going to work by Farbrengen? This is something that always in my mind. Okay, so the Rebbeim will fit in this and that, and everything will work good. Actually, I'm just thinking now that when Mashiach comes, the Vada Masada will be back, and the Vada Masada, I'm sure, will be able to take care of it. They're very capable people. Or we can say something else. We can say something else. The Rebbe said very often, the Rebbe always says, what's the ma'aseh that? How come Mashiach come Shabbos? El Yon Nabi, let Mashiach come, and we'll figure that one out also. So, L'chayre, Yilulda de Mustafina, I would say this wasn't an issue that bothered the Rebbe. Let Mashiach come, and where everyone's going to sit, whether the Vada Masada could do it or not. But for me, let's put that in practice, okay? So we take care of all the big people. Now, Hebtchan HaMais of Shmuel Munkus shows up. Rebbe Hillel Paratcher. Isaac Hamlet. We're going. Me and my nefesh Abamas, the grub young that I am, I'm not giving them my place. It's my weakness. Okay, they could stand next to me. They could stand behind me. I'll even give them a chair to sit on. But I happen to have a place that I'm very comfortable with by Farbrengen. I'm not ready to be mavata. I'm sorry to do a public confession. Knowing some people that stood around me, I don't think they would give it either. Good. So they'll stand behind me. Now let's continue. The Rebbe comes into Farbrengen, the Rebbe starts at Farbrengen. Do they understand what the Rebbe is talking about? If those of you that remember, it used to be transistors, the white transistors translation. I think we're going to have to give Rav Shmuel Munkus a transistor. This aces that the Rebbe uses, musagim, that we as the generation of Mashiach, that the Rebbe gave us, that the Rebbe taught us, that's our language. That's our jargon. I mean, we speak. So when we speak about Inyani Gula Mashiach, by the way, it's not just a question of iskashus. Very often yeshivas, they have a mifti iskashus, learn Terasei Shal, learn the Rebbe's Teiris. It's not just a mice of iskashus. You Pashut want to understand Teirah Chadash, you want to understand what the Rebbe is going to be talking about, you better start learning Lekutisichis, Igris, minus Yeshimis, whatever it is, because that's the language that is coming up. Now, Bechlal, it seemingly is very simple, but it's not, because we all know that Chassidus, everything in Chassidus is Mashiach. Ganz Chassidus is Mashiach. You can even say Kol HaTorah Kula is Mashiach. The difference is, until the Rebbe, you had to be a maskil. Going back to Yale, you had to be upset. See how Mashiach is in everything. But the Rebbe changed. I'll tell you something, because you mentioned that YouTube video. Now you got my head going. Chas v'shalom to compare, we're not allowed to measure whatever. But the closest in Ribui Kamus of Chassidus is l'chayr the Tzemach Tzedek. Right? The Tzemach Tzedek has Ribui. You have Eireh Teirah, and there was a Sefer L'Kutim, which I had the chus to work on part of it. I didn't have a chance to look today, so I'm going to go on the line. And if someone wants to go now and come back in 2 minutes, I'll bet whatever you want. I'll bet you a bottle of vodka. In Sefer L'Kutim is an Erech Mashiach, which probably has a lot of pages. In that same volume, because Eis Mem had full the fourth volume of Sefer L'Kutim has also Erech Mashiach, Erech Moshe. I'm ready to bet you, Rabbi Moshe Rapport, that Erech Moshe by the Tzemach Tzedek is bigger than Mashiach. And I'm ready to bet you, if you open the Mafteches on the Rebbe that Zelikson made, and Shekayachtim, as I gesund, to be able to continue his wonderful thing, I guarantee you the topics of Gula Mashiach are way bigger than Moshe. Without having looked at it today, hands down, I'm ready to go on the line. I was going to look it up at Leol Sabiyadi. Why? Because by the Rebbe, everything, every single thing, where, what, when, food, he gets everything, was all about Mashiach. We just read last week the Haftarah of Chizkiah. Bikish HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasis Chizkiah Mashiach. So let's talk about Mashiach. What does it say? One of the great things of Chizkiah, every man, woman, child, every child was Baki and Tumah V'Tara Midan Ve'Beshava. Every child knew that the Rebbe brought the word Mashiach to make it a household name in the whole world as a fact. And Tafshin no one wanted to admit it. Now everyone slowly but surely they're coming out of the closet. The Rebbe, but let's talk about not Don Be'Shava. Let's talk about from Empire Boulevard to Eastern Parkway. Let's talk about in Crown Heights. Every kid in every yeshiva Bar B'Rev Chad Yema knows musagim that the Rebbe spoke about kol kitzim, two puts in the kneplach. Dida b'tachtenim is the tachlis, take him yad mamish. We want Mashiach now. Gula mitis v'ashleimet. These are words that's household for any kid and any Lubavitcher. L'sakanei l'malchushin dal yud avarensi. Tikkun olam is very popular. So I always ask my balabatim, how do you say tikkun olam in Hebrew? Is there a word for tikkun olam in Hebrew, right? Because it became this word, this political. Anyway, Medicine politics. But these words, Varu Manani Shmaya Yala Peris Lefanenu, Es Samach V'Sechazenu, Sheibon, everything. Ad Mosai, the Rebbe made this part of our lingo. Every Farbrengen, the Rebbe would sit down. Every Farbrengen had to do with Mashiach, right? The whole month of Adar had to do Mismach Gula Gula. Pesach was Kimei Tzeis Chamer Tzrayim B'Nisan Nigalu. Tisha B'Av Ne'Odel Mashiach Shom Yisrael. Elul Ashir Hashem V'Yem Le'Zez. Everything until that video. We talk about that video again. That YouTube Tavshim Membeis. The Rebbe said, instead of bothering you every Yom Tiv, Tachazi Amad Abar Tish Nas B'Yis Mashiach. This whole year is Mashiach. So if you wake up 4 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep, you don't have to wait for Farbrengen. It's Mashiach. You wait at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Shabbos Chol Moed Sukkos. Mashiach. The Rebbe made Mashiach a household word, a name that we always know. That's the pshat that the Rebbe gave us the Yechida. So Rebbe Hillel Parcha could understand Mashiach better, but that it's alish and that it comes, that it rolls off our tongue, that whatever it is, that's what the Rebbe did. That's one of the things the Rebbe did. Is because again, if you follow the logic, the Rebbe said, "I did everything, and now I'm giving it to you." The Rebbe could have gone up to his room and the Rebbe gave dollars right away. And the Rebbe continued. There was 11 months of sichis, and Nachvi sichis, and Nachman. And the Rebbe said, I'm not leaving in luft. There was people that asked, and the Rebbe said, learn in Yoni Golem Mashiach. So look at Mashiach, open your eyes. You have to make Mashiach a reality. You have to start. And Yechida, it's even more than that. There's the well-known sicha that we all know in Yeralf Nisan Taf Shalamet Beis. But the Rebbe asks the Pashta Shaila, why is Reitzad Mekaf Shaloi, Namad Chsufa, the Chayri, the Eibishter could have made it different. The same question could be asked about Mashiach. Yeah, we understand that Mashiach has to come for us, yeah, but Hagufa. And the Chayri, the Rebbe Pashat was Mazakas. The Rebbe took us as partners. The Rebbe could have brought Mashiach, but the Rebbe did bring it to the point that, that's it. And the Rebbe said, I'm leaving you over, and that's Baktana. I'm leaving you over the little bit and finish it off. And that's all you have to do. And it's happening, and we're doing it. So it's not as fast. We're on a slow program. So if you talk about the idea of learning in Yonah Gula Mashiach and making Mashiach a reality, is not a question of iskashus. It's not a question. It is what it is all about. To be mamchish. Miyem alachti lecheda. The Rebbe is telling us, start thinking, make Mashiach a reality, whatever it is that works for you, whatever it is. Yeah, now, if you're a Lamdan, you could go through the Rebbe's Titus and you'll find all the things that the Rebbe was mechadash about Mashiach and Vita Chishena, what's if Smidita Chishena, and the Rebbe answers a lot of questions with that, Sheftim Menalev. You could go on and on and on. The names of Mashiach, the Rashatevis, right? Shiloi, Yinain, whatever. So, Venigla, the difference between Venigla, Vero. There's Perikid Alfia Beis of Rambam, which is a whole book now. I signed it also as a picture. Anyway, but all of those things, all of those things the Rebbe gave us, B'derech Halimud, and the Rebbe gave us in a way of simply that to make it a reality. When the Rebbe spoke about Mashiach, before we're going to finish the Farbrengen, before Mincha, the Rebbe's coming, the Rebbe wasn't just using nice words. The Rebbe was saying, make it a reality. And that's our thing. We need to make Mashiach. The Rebbe's prescription is very simple. Learn in Yoni Gula Mashiach. Otherwise, you stop sitting and fantasizing. Yeah, you could sit and imagine money growing on trees and ice cream growing on trees and Tavelach Bracha, so sein gesund. But first of all, if that's all Mashiach is, okay, I don't know who else is on this thing. We have to be careful what we say. But there's other people out there who think that's Mashiach. That's not the Mashiach that the Rebbe wanted us to understand. The Rebbe gave us a Havan of Mashiach. The Rebbe gave us appreciation of Mashiach. And at the same time, the Rebbe made Mashiach something that's whatever. So I'm standing by Farbrengen, the biggest maskilim from all the 6 generations could be standing next to me. Then these asias, these realities that the Rebbe gives us, these realities that the Rebbe makes Mashiach something that you finish every sentence and every l'chaim you say and every Farbrengen you have and any time you talk, whatever, it's all about Mashiach. This is what the Rebbe is saying. This is the reality that the Rebbe is saying that he had, and this is what the Rebbe is giving us. So l'chaim, going back to your Shvat Farbrengen, v'niske zen zichem leben da lamata, in a Guf Gashmi, which also is a very interesting idea. Why does it say v'niske zen zich the Rebbe? I said it many times. In Yiddish, you could say v'niske Zen the Rebbe Dolamat is a perfect sentence. The Rebbe wants to include us. Our challenge is zich. Make sure you're connected. The Mashiach's going to come Hakol Maiden. That everything's going to be good Hakol Maiden. The Rebbe is vinching us. The Rebbe is wishing us. Zen zich. Make sure you're in the picture. Don't be out of the picture. Make sure you're living the reality. Make sure you're living Mashiach. Make sure you're there. It's going to happen. So the Eibush is helping. The Eibush is talking of uns and of the Rebbe that so many years passed, and we're still sitting, and we have an amazing 24-hour for bringing Ashkech to Tut Alts, to the committee, to Shleimin Aparstik, and everyone else is on it, Kol Kavod. But at the end of the day, it's all good. But we want Mashiach now. Bas Agashmi Mashiach Chaim.